with about 10 minutes to spare here. Hopefully everything's working. Audio. I assume it's my standard OBS setup, so let's look into the session here. So just total disclosure, I took a small scalp this morning already. Obviously, it was much more profile based, standards futures trade more than any options trade or options related flows. It was just a short here for 50 points on 1MQ. I just saw, we had this big impulse which brought us down here, and it just kept getting sold all day. So this would have been another chance here, above 700, kind of like a look above 700 and fail. But coming into RTH, this is what I'm looking at and kind of how I would trade the session. So first, I guess I should mention from the start, I will either use, I'm a bit like backwards. I'll either use futures flow to trade options on QQQ, or use options flow to trade futures, or some kind of combination in there. I think altogether, of course you can use options flow in VannaCharm to trade options as well, of course. But I think just somehow between the two cross instruments, there's like additional edge, because I just don't think many people are doing it. So just check the time real quick. So still 8 minutes till the open. So basically how I trade futures, and of course none of this is financial advice, or any sort of strategy or anything. This is just to purely explain all the dashboards we've built in the past few days, how to use the VannaCharm product, how I use it. There's, a million ways to trade. You have to figure out your own edge. But how I have kind of settled on, after trying a lot of things in futures, I have like my bars, usually the 30 minute, 1 minute, the 4 hour, and of course the daily. Then I have my market profile. Typically I look at order flows and like actual deltas and volumes using NQ, and of course to execute, at least today, will be with MNQ, if anything at all. I'm pretty happy with my scalp, and I may just be done for the day. But let's see what opportunities present themselves. And then of course I have the tape here, filtered for 10 contracts or more. Otherwise it's too crazy for me. I typically also have QQQ open, so I just know what the underlying spot is. And kind of how the US market sees the intraday price action. So a lot happens under the hood overnight. Let me get back to the 30-minute. A lot happens overnight under the hood on futures, but this is kind of like the most public facing view, I would say, for a lot of folks, many folks who don't trade futures. I also have the VIX. I always keep it on the 1 minute just so I can quickly reference up here, if we're bid, or if it's offered, just the trend of VIX. And then of course we've got VannaCharm here. So it looks like it logged me out already, and it even kicked me out of Tradier. So Tradier is our first fully looks like I'll have to log in again. Tradier is our first fully integrated broker. We're hoping to add TradeStation very soon, as well as Tastyworks, but there's still communication and paperwork and tests that need to be done. for us to get that going. So the default when you're on the live overview page is SPY, but of course I'm exclusively a QQQ trader, so I'm gonna hop over there. It's just the instrument that I've like focused on. So for today, I gotta hurry up because we got 4 minutes, but what I am definitely looking at for today is the 600 strike. That is the huge dominant strike for Gamma. There's a little bit down here at 95 and then 90, so kind of these every 5 strike increment. But what I'd be looking for here is a magnet attraction kind of up to 600 here. I would expect price to flow up there. If we can break through that wall, I don't know. We'll find out in a few minutes. But this can also act as overhead resistance, right? Like we can move up there, kind of chop around, and we'll either eat through it or we'll just kind of fade off of it. That's also the major max Vanna strike. And we have here our newer Gex Vex, which kind of attempts to combine both Gamma and Vanna into one view. So at that 600 strike, it is dominated much more, as you can see, by Gamma. So I would expect it gets tagged, if not right off the opening print, then pretty quickly. Let me jump down to 30-minute view here. So let's see, 600 is just under that tail of the close on Friday. So let me look at futures. That would be, this was the holiday session in futures. So let me look here. What are we looking at on futures? So yeah, 730. I think on one of these charts I have it marked as well, the 600 strike. Yeah, it's here. Let me move to a higher time frame. It's easier to see the line. Yeah, and this is just notes for me. So this is 600 on Qs, this line, and that was even that was the top tick of this swing high in the European session too. Is this 600 strike? So it looks like there's some decent bid here. Yeah, we're getting ready to start here in a minute. So the market may want to bid right up to that 730 level. So let's see what happens. That's very interestingly, that also corresponds to the single print of the overnight session. So I also had that here in my notes. I'm very interested to see what happens at that level, because that's kind of one auction below. A new auction has begun here, and the rest is everything above from, in my opinion, from Friday and the holiday session. So yeah, we got 30 seconds here. So let's see. I typically drop down to the 1 minute. I like to see the initial price action and the delta histogram to see what's going on. And we'll also, of course, start getting all the live open interest and yeah, live open interest trades and everything. Yeah. So here we go. Let me hop back in. Okay, so already some bids. So what we can do is take the 1 minute opening range breakout with the expectation that this gamma acts as a magnet, at least for the market to see, where we want to go to, if we see bids come on the tape. Otherwise, below is the 595. So let's see here. That's the 1 minute. Looks like they are offering that, at least initially here. However, that's also the session VWAP so far. So could be a little bit of a look below and fail. So let's hop back in here. So now we're in a little bit of negative. Dealers are short gamma there, so we could pop up through that. Again, still, as far as I can see, the 600 strike is still dominant. So let's see here. The problem with the Nasdaq is so fast. Looks like they're headed right for that 730. Let's see if they reoffer the 1 minute. The thing is, if I were to long 780, that's only it's a 50-point trade up to 730, but I'm not sure if that really fits like the ranges we've been seeing. So, because then where's my stop? If my stop is below the low of day, at least the RTH low, it's not really best risk to reward here. So this one would be a bit better, but still 100-point target would be above that single print. Let's hop back in here. Okay, so gamma's flipped slightly positive at 599. And one thing I should mention, we also want to add is we're working on adding like a very similar TradingView style header, so you can keep it running in your browser and it'll show the current spot price. It looks like they're bidding it. Still having some trouble against this little swing high recently from the overnight, but overall it looks pretty good. So I'm very curious to see what happens at this single print. That's the 600 strike, and it also corresponds to, yeah, exactly, to, in my opinion, the difference between two, kind of the nature of two different auctions. But there's a solid seller up here. I mean, as you can see, the 710s keep getting offered. Some heavy taper here on the profile. But typically gamma is a pretty strong force here. So there goes the 730. Let's see if it's offered or we continue a little bit through here. It looks strong. I mean, they're bidding through it. So now above 600, if we can maintain above 600, that's basically all negative gamma. There's a little bit of positive at 602 and 604, but I would expect we could push up to 603, and up there, that's where you have to be careful. Let's see, 603 is just on that flip between those two candles, basically, right? So that is for us on futures. If we pop to, so that's up here, that's about 850. So I would expect 850 would kind of be the next zone where the market would want to seek. And then there is like the max negative, at least for now. Of course, these things develop as all the contracts are traded, but that's currently the minimum gex. So things can get choppy, and it's yeah, It's not supporting flows where positive gamma is kind of they buy sell offs, dealers buy sell offs, and sell rips. It's the opposite. So could get choppy up there. So we've also added, this is all new to me too, these few new charts, and we need to check ourselves like if they're actually useful. So we have a hedge impulse here, which attempts to kind of take the local gamma, so the very near strike gamma and Vanna surfaces in real time. So basically, if that's positive, you want to go with the flow. Like it means there's potential for continuation, and if it's negative, that's when you can get into like those choppy areas of price action. We also have the charm, like the total charm. If that increases or decreases, obviously, like one thing I noticed already is the axis is totally like useless. It doesn't really help. The reason we have these separate is because charm anyway, dealers hedge based on the passage of time. It doesn't really affect or isn't affected by spot or vol itself. Not entirely true. There's of course a vol component because of the black shoals and everything, but it's a separate chart. It's kind of like a passive. You can think of it as a passive flow. So as that increases, I mean the axis is horrible right now, but as the total charm were to increase, that's basically, you can think of that as, in general, dealers have to buy more of the underlying to hedge that charm exposure. If it's negative, they have to sell more. We also have the implied volatility versus the realized vol. So currently the realized vol is way above the implied. Let's hop back into the futures. I mean, we've moved, makes sense, right? We've moved about 200 points in 8 minutes. So that's probably accurate. So let's see if they get us up to that 850, that negative gamma strike. So actually my idea there was not, if we drop down back to the 1 minute, that idea there to long, yeah, I would have hit a 100-point trade if I had longed that breakout there. But I don't like when there's a huge candle like this right at the beginning. Like, I don't typically like that too much. Maybe the trick was here the reoffer, because then my stop would have been below the RTH low, and that I could theoretically go with. But I'm happy with my trade in the overnight, so I'm probably gonna be sitting on hands, especially now with a initial impulse like this. Who knows? Tomorrow's expiration, so they could rip the whole thing. Like today could be all short covering, and maybe we'll just rip all the way up into the single prints from the sell off on Thursday. I could see that happening too. But yeah, that was just a little initial look. I have to get back into like the actual code behind these and clean up how these charts show up, and probably add better descriptions of everything. Let me look back up to the gamma. Yeah, it's still the 603 is that negative gamma strike. Now this looks also, looks relatively decent, but is not very, doesn't really help much. So you can think of this video as like our first productive example of all these new charts. So it's kind of new for me too, and I'll be taking notes of what can be improved. So let's see here, like, what do we have? Okay, that's per strike. Calls are left side. Puts are right side. Okay, I see. Okay. What would help is actually also to have a little label. Okay, so there was just a big call buy there. Okay, all right, I can use that as a reference, I guess. But that's the yeah, that's this is also reversed. That for sure is confusing. The higher strike should be above. But your best detailed view would be here, the calls and puts table. I also wanted to check. So we have these three: the Gamma, the Vanna, and the Charm. We just shipped last night. There's basically three ways we consider how to look at them. The canonical, which is the classic Gamma exposure for 1% move in the underlying, Vanna for 1% change in implied vol, and Charm for 1 day passage of time. But what we also have, because we anyway have real-time data from the broker, we have what we call state-weighted. And the state-weighted is Gamma in response to real-time price changes, since Gamma is basically delta, the second derivative to delta. Vanna, we use the real-time, like the real-time change in the vol surface. And also for Charm, the real-time, the Charm is, in my opinion, the most simple of the state-weighted. You know exactly the number of seconds until expiration, the exact number of time, basically as every second passes. So that's kind of our, what we call like the state-weighted, like the, how should I say, the instantaneous state of the exposures. And then we have the deltas. So if we just took, instead of the live the open interest, like with the canonical, we try and just show the deltas from this open interest. So you would see basically just this column overlaid. So I think all of them are useful. Let me see, like what that highlights. For example, looks like a lot of people bought 601 calls, for example, compared to like the canonical, which is derived from just the plain open interest data. But we try with the delta flow that highlights more of what is the contribution at each strike based on the options flows. So much more significant here, right? So a lot of more people are buying contracts at the strike, or it's easier to visualize. Exactly. So you can see like kind of where Charm is anyway, just basically on raw counts of all calls and puts. But you can see a little bit in real time, like where new positions are coming on or being taken off. I guess the net of all participants. So, well, looks like we're rejecting off of that 600 strike. It looked convincing, but as everyone knows, the Nasdaq is very fickle. So they already sold that whole. They didn't manage to get up to the negative. Negative strike. So they closed the gap from Friday, but then it was heavily offered. VIX is bidding. And the issue is there's not much. That's where things can get a little bit hairy because there's not much dealer exposure below. So there's no real like put walls that can slow the market down. It all depends if this 600 strike is strong enough to attract price to it. So they may try a rebid here. We're inside, or they may try and rebid this 1 minute, which looks exactly like what they're doing right now. So VPOC is up there, which is a good sign. But we're back in the RTH 1 minute opening range basically. So let's watch and see what happens here. If they want to stay above that, the opening range, or if it's going to be offered. Then we also have VPOC. It's also a level. VWAP, sorry. VPOC also moved down. Yeah, let me see here. If I were to short the 1 minute opening range down, let's see what they do here. I mean, they slice through VWAP like butter. See if they rebid VWAP or if it's just offered here. It was a pretty mean reversal of the 1 minute, almost to the tick, the 1 minute opening range. VPOC is now at 670. Okay. Okay, so that was so far a look below and fail of VWAP, but they're still selling it. Let's see here. Check it's a little bit increase in gammas here. But the next stop below, if we were to sell, would be the 595, would be where I'd be looking. So I think, yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot here. Don't like that reoffer. It's kind of a battle within the opening range at VWAP. Try and reclaim the VPOC. Let's see if they offer VPOC here. Gonna try a low risk if they fill me, but I might not be filled here. Yeah, there it goes. So I can see if they reoffer. Can see if they reoffer the 1 minute, but that's a pretty significant break candle. it's already trying to push 96. Yeah, and that would have been a beautiful trade. 100 points to the tick would be like the new overnight low, or basically a push of the overnight low. That swing, the swing low there. So basically two trade ideas. Kind of a look at that, like a look above of that huge gamma wall, and then a total rejection off of it. But yeah, it's almost 8 minutes. Will be open of B period. So the second half-hour candle. Got some single prints through that push down. They may want to repair them. What is this, 620? They may bid off of the excess low from the overnight, but right now this price action is not looking like that's going to be held. That's what they call very like a mechanical low. It can work, but usually it's a weak sort of support. So there's that VPOC that we hit from, I think, a few weeks back from overnight. They bid off of it. But now they're just selling it off. So I would have gotten my, let's see if they hit the overnight. And where are we on? Okay, so gamma, of course, as we get closer to the strikes, becomes more active. I would expect a potential bounce here, especially since that corresponds to the overnight low. So not quite yet, but you could try like a small scalp. Let's see what happens here. They still didn't get that overnight low yet. Problem is, this isn't even, we're not even halfway to 590, and that already has more gamma. So there's much larger open interest at that number. Let's see if they if we can't look below the overnight low and see what happens there. Watching the order flow and price, how price reacts. So pretty quickly bid. And re-offered. Offered pretty heavily. So 500, let's see if that. So also like mental, whatever you want to call them, like smart money levels. Little bit of bidding here, market buys. I think we're right at we're below the 95 strike. So could try one of those with a little stop. Just a stop at 500. Let's see if they bid it or not. Not looking good that they offered that whole candle there. Yeah, and I'm out. So that would have been an attempt at scalping, like a bounce back up to 595. Yeah, so it looks like it was just a few ticks. Probably could have put my stop a little bit lower, but I don't like big stops when you're going against the trend. Yeah, so I was just a bit early. If they'll bring it all the way back up to the open, I'm not sure. That's all positive gamma in there, so it could be supportive enough. But there's a lot of selling pressure here, and we're at like the swing lows on higher time frames. So this was about 15-point stop. So I'm still up 35 points on the day, which is not much at all, but the point here was more to show the tool itself in action and how I use it. Curious is that here, this is 593 and 591, there's just like nothing going on. So if you could get some acceleration, 590 could print today. I mean, that looks really bad. That looks really ugly, especially at lows, swing lows, at least on the weekly. Let me see how the weekly looks. Yeah, it looks like super ugly. So 590 is down here. Would be a logical, I mean, that's just like air, right? Like just a big gap till that close down there. Could definitely see it printing. So that's going to be about it for me today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was informative. I might do more. But I'll probably post this. This will probably become like the initial tutorial on the website for how to use the tool, and we'll improve, of course, these charts in the coming days. And for whatever we can think of, we'll add more functionality as well. All right, so thanks for stopping in, and I guess I will see everybody next time.